So, part two, metrics to momentum. What do you do when the tools stop working? So, I've got my little doodlebird drawing here, and pluckers. This isn't working anymore. I mean, how many have had this? You know, you're looking at your analytics and or your spreadsheet, maybe it's even your budget, and you're like, oh my gosh, nothing's working. What do you do? So I'm reading this. This is part two. I'll drop a link here for part one in case you missed the first one. Going from metrics to momentum, and talking about how you turn inward versus looking at the external. And so specifically thinking about, especially how we post on social media. I'm primarily on LinkedIn, although I post on other channels too, but that's like my primary focus, but it works no matter what it is that you're doing. I mean, this is just normal life stuff. So, I'm going to read what my blog post is. So it's a 5-part series. So we're here on number 2, the comfort of the known. It makes perfect sense on paper. Build a strategy, follow the steps, get results. We treat doing something well as if we're assembling furniture, external instructions, a set of tools, and maybe a YouTube video or two. And for a while, it might work. For example, if you wanted to start building your presence on LinkedIn, you might start looking for content calendars, templates for posts, and maybe a checklist for your profile and a strategy to get the algorithm to notice you. Commenting strategy. People love those on LinkedIn. Or perhaps you're looking to get better sleep. So you watch YouTube videos, you read the blogs, you check reviews on Amazon, hoping that sleep mask or weighted blanket, maybe a soundscape playlist, and setting an alarm to wind down will do the trick. Oh my gosh, I love that one. And perhaps it does. I know a weighted blanket is so relaxing and soothing for me. For me, it is like the best invention ever. I love a weighted blanket. I'll crank up the AC just so I can have my weighted blanket on if I want. But what happens when you don't have your blankie? Like if I go traveling, I don't take my weighted blanket with me. Come on, that would be like my whole suitcase weight limit, right? So when these supports are not available, or when they suddenly stop working, like what happens? Let's talk about it. This is how I experienced it. We often lean on the external to help us through something new, whether it's sleep aids or content strategies. These are scaffolding, temporary structures meant to support us while we build something sturdier. But too often we make the mistake that the scaffolding is the structure itself. So we mistake the scaffolding for the structure itself. Kind of like riding a bike, that you're always supposed to have the training wheels versus the training wheels being a support while you learn to balance yourself on the bike, right? One of my clients in the Inner Way, so that's my one of my one-on-one programs. It's a 5-week program to build up your or create a foundation for your nervous system regulation. And what we're doing is we're really building self-trust. We're strengthening that and using human design to kind of as a tool to help you see yourself in new ways. And it's something to get you really a good foundation and started for whatever it is that you're building. We cater it to that. So one of my clients in the Inner Way was trying to find a way to start posting on LinkedIn. Every time she tried to write, she froze. So she'd find a new person, system, guide to try, but the loop continued. When we paused to explore what actually helped her feel grounded, she realized that she never asked herself what felt comfortable. She wasn't in the conversation. She just assumed the formula would be the thing, create momentum, and make her feel safe. Been there. Field notes. This is what I call my blog is field notes, because these are also notes from my field, my energy field, and the field that I physically stand in where I am. I've done this too. I started creating What Do I Write About as a private podcast. So What Do I Write About is, it's a free email course. It's 5 days. You get 5 emails, and it helps you to find your inner authority, to know what to write about on LinkedIn, but it could work for whatever that you're going for. And it's about trusting your inner authority, and why oftentimes we get lost in that indecision or overwhelmed, and why we don't know what we want to write about. And we end up, and it often shows up in a different way. I don't have time for this. That's just not me. I'm really more of a commenter versus one who puts content out there. I don't want to be, an influencer. So anyway, when I first started it started as a private podcast, because people are busy. They want things on the go. So, I knew other people who were doing private podcasts, and it sounds lovely, right? And I used to be one who listened to a lot of podcasts on the go, and I'm not now. I don't listen to podcasts very often. But when I asked myself, how do I best shine? And this was the changer. I stopped thinking about, how do I think other people could consume this? What would be good for them? I started thinking about, what's good for me? What's the way that I feel most on? Because, so often we try to, somebody will say, oh, you really should do YouTube videos. And you're like, oh, I really hate being on video. And you can work through that. That can be part of your mission of working through it. I did that with writing. I thought I sucked at writing, that I was really terrible. I was good at instructional writing, but anything else, I was a nightmare. I didn't have the words. I couldn't explain things, let alone try to be concise. And my grammar's awful, and my grammar's still awful. But I made that a thing that I worked towards. I got a coach. I got a mentor to help me with moving through this, and I studied it and I worked through it. But when I'm thinking about, and there was a lot of garbage in there, but when I'm thinking about what am I doing now, and I want to put my best foot forward because I really want to attract people into this, well, I want to do how I shine now. And a podcast was dead last in that. And I still feel that way. I don't have a problem recording my voice. And yeah, I can make a YouTube video and then also make it a podcast and stuff. But there was something about managing the podcast part of it. I was like, ew, not my area right now. For whatever reason, not my thing. What I like to do is I like to write, I like to make videos, or I like to give workshops. That's what I like to do. So these are my clarity channels. That's what I call it. My clarity channels. When I feel most like me. And that's where I want to send my message from, where I feel most like me. External doesn't mean it's not wrong. So if I were to say, I want to do a podcast because I think this is how most people would enjoy the content, there's nothing wrong with that. But it also doesn't mean that it's aligned. So when I have clarity on, I like to write, I like to make videos, and I like to give workshops. The writing is the thing that I have the most flexibility in, because I don't have to have quietness in my house to be able to do it. Writing's the one that gives me more flexibility. So normally that's my go-to, and that's what I ended up doing for What to Write About. It became more in writing, but I do have a video in it as well. So if you felt this, you might have noticed your favorite tool suddenly stops working. You feel, and meaning that when it's not aligned. So if it's not aligned, here's what you might notice. Your favorite tool suddenly stops working. You feel pressure to adapt even when it feels wrong. You second guess your instincts. You're chasing solutions instead of slowing down. I've heard this from so many people about slowing down is like the new fast. And that's because you don't have to redo it. And it has a longer shelf life. That's the key. Certain systems, they work. Certain formulas, they work until they don't. But when you're doing everything from your aligned place, you're tuning to you. You evolve as a person, but you're not suddenly going to do a 180 and become a different person when you get to know yourself. I mean, maybe you'll do that when have no idea who you are. That's why I use human design, because it's a tool that you can use to help you see yourself and know yourself, who you are. Human design won't tell you who you are. It'll just pose things in different ways for you to look at yourself and see what's already been there. So your favorite tool suddenly stops working. You feel pressure to adapt even when it feels wrong. You second guess your instincts. You're chasing solutions instead of slowing down. You've forgotten what your way even feels like. I've done that. I've been there. This is a recalibration moment, not a failure. So, an invitation inward. Take a breath. Gently scan your supports. What's helping? What's holding you back? Where's your nervous system whispering? Not this. Does your body expand or contract? Does it feel good or ick? I love the expand and contract. One of the things I start to realize about myself, I start to go, ooh, I close in my body. And other times I stand up straighter. So those are just a few things that I notice about me. There's other things too. But maybe if you start noticing what actually happens to your body when you start thinking about something, that knowledge is going to go far with you. You might not need a new system. You might just need to return to yourself. And I know we hear that a lot and stuff. So, hopefully you're getting more than just some fluffy line right here to return to yourself. It's literally looking at yourself, like just what I shared with the contracting and the expanding, returning to yourself. That's what I mean. Like literally, I mean it literally. Notice what happens on your body that you can physically see, like record yourself and then say each tool and just watch. Do your shoulders go up? Do they slump down? Do you feel like you're closing in? Did you expand out? Did you look up or did you look down? These are real things. And so you might need to return to yourself is literal, literally, whatever the way that we should say that with emphasis here. So not just fluffy words. Seriously, look at yourself. What shifted for me? Once I stopped asking what people wanted and started asking where I felt most expressed, I created differently. And so that most expressed, so we're crystal clear on this, I'm going to go back to right here where I asked, did I want to make this as a podcast, right? Podcast was dead last. Where do I feel most expressed? I write. I make videos. I give workshops. Those are my clarity channels. That's what I'm talking about. So these are, again, not just fluffy words where I felt most expressed. Where do I feel like it's so easy and effortlessly for me to do this, to be, to exist? That's what I want you to think about, because that's where I started creating differently. I let go of the podcast pressure. That was like a year that I've had this in the back of my mind. Like, I really should do this. I really should do this. And then of course I've had other people, you should start a podcast. You should do this. I hear like, you should go on other people's podcasts, like a whole host of things. And it's like, oh my gosh, like get out of my head, people. So I let go of the podcast pressure. I wrote the guide that wanted to come through me, the one that felt like my voice, my pace, my flow. And that became What Do I Write About? I'll put a link to that in here in case you're in the description, in case you're interested. And it's helping people start from a place that feels good, not forced. That's the whole point of what that free 5-day email is. So resonance with me first and resonance with you first, right? So field notes, a little bit more down here. You don't need a perfect container. You need resonance. That's what turns scaffolding into support. So you can still have the scaffolding, but you got to do inner resonance. That's what creates sustainability, momentum powered by self-trust. I spent 7 months posting on LinkedIn before I began to shift from external to internal. I didn't have a guide, someone to show me a path that felt possible, but I took the chance and said my way or I'm not doing this. And I know a lot of other people have gotten to that, and some of them have moved into letting just the AI do it because they just don't like it, or they only post like a few days. And I didn't want to do that. I mean, I have nothing against AI, and I do use it in a lot of assistant type work is how I kind of think it. I still like to write for myself because I want my essence in it. I want it to come from me, from where I am. I firmly believe in that energy transference. But I want to post most days. I don't mind taking a week off, and some weeks it might be 3 and other weeks it might be 7. But generally on LinkedIn, I post 5 times a week and 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And that's what because that's what I want. It's not just, that's what I want for my strategy, but I want to do it showing up as me. So I didn't have a guide, but I decided this is how I'm going to do it. And I'm going to figure it out. It was another 5 months of finding my courage to do it. So I knew I wanted to do it, but I kept getting sucked back into these other things. It was, there was a bit of an unlearning period. Another 6 to 7 months of uncoaching myself from the LinkedIn way. That's driven by external metrics. And in November 2024, I decided to go all in on me, my way. I've been stepping into it more and more ever since. It's my way. And when I share how to start and what do I write about, it's not telling you my way. It's a guide to help you find your way, because I don't want to be your forever training wheels. Only you have access to that, but I can offer some guidance to help you connect with it, with yourself. And, ever since I've done that, I've been talking with some other people, and I find there's also been other people who I somewhere around the same time kind of started doing, their way of figuring this out for their way. And for a while, it felt like I was the only person doing it, or there's very few people doing it. And my way is completely different than the LinkedIn way, because I post poems. I do weird art videos sometimes. Maybe there's some teaching in there, but I don't really do a lot of teaching. I don't really do, there's invitations, but I don't really do a lot of selling. I don't always talk about all of the products and things, but I talk about the things that I'm doing, things that are important to me, things that are moving me, the inspiration, my philosophy, what's going on with me, my struggles. And when I'm in the middle of it, sometimes I do a poem that's like, here's this moment. This is what I'm feeling right now. This is what it's like. And that is my way. And it's interesting now because just in the past month, so this is June 2025, just in the past month, I've seen so many other big creators who had been doing, won't say that it was bro hustle culture exactly, because that has such a negative connotation. Because they were just good people, they had their way of doing it, and they were schedule keepers, and be consistent, and it's not like they were completely out of alignment, but they were definitely more force than resonance. And they've all been changing their game. So this is a movement. This is happening. And, I guess that's why I put out here, what do I write about, to help anybody else who is looking to step into this. Maybe that's you.